We're giving you a live look on the beach in Virginia this morning. Thousands of people along the East Coast have been asked to evacuate as Hurricane Erin moves closer to the U.S. It is now a Category 2 storm expected to come closest to the U.S. tomorrow.
Now, even though that storm is not expected to make landfall in the U.S., it is still bringing some dangerous rip currents and flood risks to the coast. Good Morning America's Victor Oquendo is live in the Outer Banks of North Carolina this morning. Victor, you are there on the ground right now. We see the flags behind you flapping in the wind. How would you describe the conditions?
Yep, Mark, Kara, those red flag warnings, they are up here in Nags Head, all along the beach in the Outer Banks, and really for much of the East Coast right now. The wind is starting to pick up, as is the surf, and this will only intensify throughout the day as Hurricane Erin closes in. Experts are predicting storm surge of up to 4 feet in some areas. Water already surrounding homes and flowing down streets along the East Coast. Officials are urging residents to take this storm seriously. Waves and high tides forcing beach closures up to New York and New Jersey. Mandatory evacuations are in effect for some areas here in the Outer Banks where Erin's surge could leave residents and visitors stranded. This morning, we've seen swells of about 5 to 7 feet, but later today and into tomorrow could be up to 20 feet. So it's that high surf and the high tides. That combination leads to the major concerns: coastal erosion and coastal flooding. Mark, Kara?
Now, we understand that people have been asked to evacuate, that officials have been asking people to take this seriously, but we know what happens every time we see one of these. So are people sticking around? Are they taking it seriously? What have you seen?
I would say that you kind of see the same thing for many of these major storms. You always have people that want to stay at home. And then you have others, especially the visitors here. I'd say that the majority of visitors have cleared out from what we've seen and from what we've heard from officials too. The majority of those who were in town on a beach vacation, they have left. But like with any storm, you will have some people who like to stay put. They have to know that at this point they are running the risk, especially officials are predicting a lot of the roads being closed, that they might be stuck at home for some time. Mark, Kara?
Yeah, how well prepared do the locals seem to be, Victor?
I was with the county manager here in the county last night, who was telling me that they know what they're doing. This is not their first storm, and thankfully this is not going to be making landfall here in the Outer Banks, but they are preparing as if it were going to make landfall. So they've pre-positioned ambulances, first responders. They know what they're doing in this case, and they feel that they are pretty well prepared.
All right, we appreciate your time this morning. Good luck out there. Okay, so Marielle with us right now. I mean, you know, we've been talking about this with North Carolina under a state of emergency, mandatory evacuations. I mean, this is one of those things that they are, I wouldn't say used to this, but they've experienced things like this before.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Well, better safe than sorry, too. Even if it doesn't make landfall, you would always rather be prepared.
Right. You always want to be prepared for worst case scenario. And the Outer Banks, think of the geography. It's a thin row of islands there, so any water that gets pushed inland can be hazardous. So that's why we do have tropical storm warnings in place along the Outer Banks and portions of Virginia. They're under tropical storm watches, but like Victor Oquendo was saying, the high surf warnings, that's all along the East Coast, but this is really a very small area that we're watching. And the reason why those warnings are in place are for winds of 35 to 50 miles per hour, wind gusts of 60 miles per hour. Even though Erin is staying a couple hundred miles away, or the center of circulation is away from that coastline, impacts will still be felt. Up to 4 feet of storm surge right along the Outer Banks, and on the outskirts of that 1 to 3 feet with Hurricane Erin. That storm surge, by the way, that's water that gets pushed inland from the ocean, in addition to the freshwater flooding, which happens with rain. So you get rain from the system, and then you also get water getting pushed inland. The rain won't be as significant just because it'll be the far outer bands of Erin, but some of those rain bands already reaching portions of the East Coast. Something that I've noticed with this storm is how wide it has gotten in the last 24 hours. So we'll continue to watch this, of course, a Category 2 storm still with wind gusts of 120 miles per hour. It's still technically moving to the northwest, but it very soon will take a shift towards the northeast, and that'll happen today. So it'll move away from the U.S. coastline as a Category 2 storm, but again, a few hundred miles away from the Outer Banks, but still causing those issues, including rip currents and high surf warnings in that area. Also watching a couple more areas of interest, by the way, one 60% chance of development, the other 30% chance of development.